Archbishop Vigano issued a long statement, a thick statement, tons of information, in which, in the opening paragraphs, he says that there have been gross falsifications in the mainstream media. This has been a constant theme in Archbishop Vigano's analysis, that the mainstream media is in league with the deep state, the deep church, the New World Order, the Great Reset. The Great Reset is the language that they use, that they talk about, globalists, in order to, just like you would reset a computer, reset society so that it will be secular, humanist, socialistic in its government, and ecumenical in its religion and philosophy. And there's much more to it. But it's basically, how do we destroy the previous epic, which is defined, especially in the West, Europe, and in America, and in this case, Russia. It's defined by Christianity. It's defined by Christian morals, and it's defined by things that limit globalists. For example, traditionally, Christianity has always been opposed to contraception, abortion, euthanasia, etc. So the only way that globalists can create their utopia, which will be a complete nightmare, is for them to push the button and reset. And Archbishop Vigano and others have noted that the health situation, I'll just call it that, the health situation for the past 2 years or so has been part of an opportunity for globalist powers. We're talking about billionaires. We're talking about the techno-arcs, the leaders, the dictators who own and control technology. They have been using the crisis for the last 2 years in order to get information on us, to bully us, to beat us down, and of course, to move us to take health measures that we may or may not want. That's been going on for 2 years. Now we have something that's kind of more affecting every person in their home. For example, you have to stay in your home. You have to wear the mask. You have to get this into your body, etc. Now we're looking at more geopolitical maneuverings. And Archbishop Vigano is seeing this as a chessboard. And I think for people who are critical of Archbishop Vigano or didn't like this recent letter, I think what they're saying is, well, here, there's a bigger piece on the chessboard, and it's killing and hurting and attacking a smaller piece, so that's definitely bad, and that's the situation. That is the situation. I'm not pro-Russia. I'm not pro-Ukraine. I am pro-human person. I think the people on the ground, whether they're in Russia or they're Ukraine or anywhere, United States, are not benefiting and are not advocating for the worldview, the agenda, the globalism that these politicians at the top are pushing. For example, Canada. I love Canadian people. I love Canada. I'm not real wild about Justin Trudeau because Justin Trudeau, just like Joe Biden, represents the elite globalist Great Reset culture that is trying to exert more and more of its power over you and me. As a Texan, I'm against that. Now, as we begin to understand who Joe Biden is and what his agenda is, Kamala Harris, Nancy Pelosi, and then we look north of our borders to Canada and we see Justin Trudeau. And then we see the major leaders, prime ministers, and presidents of the EU nations. What do we see? We see socialism, we see secularism, we see hatred of Christianity, in particular, hatred of Catholicism, the manipulation of Catholicism, the infiltration of Catholicism, and a worldview that seeks to go beyond what we were in our tradition and to take on something that is transhuman, transgendered, trans everything. Again, I'm not pro-Putin. I'm against Putin. I think he is a criminal, cruel man who manipulates Christianity and the Russian people for money and power. Hear me say that. But then I also see things out there like this. This is President Zelensky, the president of the Ukraine. Here's his tweet. Quote, Justin Trudeau was one of those leaders who inspired me to join politics. Not going to lie, I'm not a big fan of that, President Zelensky. Justin Trudeau is a tyrant. He's an evil tyrant who is destroying the Canadian people and trying to push down the Canadian will for freedom. If he's the one who inspired you, or one of the leaders that inspired you in your political agenda, I'm concerned. I'm also concerned that George Soros is such a big advocate for President Zelensky. There's a lot of people right now, I'm guessing, I haven't seen the live chat, who are like, oh my goodness, that Ukraine, yes, it's a horrible situation. I'm totally against all this. But we have to look at the leaders and the people, and then the globalist chessboard that's going on. Does that make sense? The people, particularly right now in the Ukraine, are being abused and hurt for a secular agenda driven by Putin and a secular agenda driven by, I believe, Zelensky. And a desire to make a secular Europe that is against Catholicism. Look at what they did to Ireland. Ireland was the most Catholic nation in Europe. You could say it was even more Catholic than Italy, where the Pope resides. And they crushed and pulverized Catholicism in Ireland. People will say, well, there was a lot of sexual abuse in the church in Ireland. That's true, too. But that itself is an infiltration of wickedness, of secularism, instead of true holiness and righteousness and piety, into the ranks of the Irish hierarchy. They crushed Catholicism in Ireland. And my concern is they are trying to crush Orthodoxy and Catholicism in the Ukraine, to move Ukraine more and more like France and Germany and Canada,